Good morning and welcome back to Kiyoki Garage. Today's project is getting this box into this old car. Now that this S13 is doing mechanically well enough, we can now focus our attention on making the interior what it should be. Going through and making sure that the wiring and all of the electronic stuff is working as it should be, and most importantly getting that heater and AC box fit into this vehicle. It is definitely going to be a challenge. There is not a lot of room in an S13 compared to a G35 sedan. I do need to figure out what we're going to do for door cards yet. I'm not sure if we want to use G coupe door panels or make our own maybe or something. Got to figure out something with that, but yep, we will jump right into this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pop this piece off here. These vents are in a good location, and I've got a good idea of this vent location in relation to the box. So from here I can measure forward, measure out the firewall, kind of figure out what I have as far as depth. I do know for certain that the firewall on this is going to be back further in comparison to the G, because we did end up having to cut into the dash just a little bit. We do still have room up there for defrost vents, so that's about as far as we cut into the dash, but we did cut a little bit because we wanted to get this to fit nicely in with the windshield. You can still see the black line from the windshield right there, and there is not a lot of leg room left. There is definitely less than a stock S13, but it's still doable. This car doesn't have any rear seats, so it allowed me to kind of set everything a little bit further back as far as the driver and passenger. A lot of you may know that newer cars are taller, but for those of you that don't, the difference between like an old 90s car and a newer mid 2000s vehicle, or anything actually that's really new, is the height of the windshield right there in relation to the bottom of the car. Newer vehicles are much taller. The door is much taller. Everything is kind of taller. Some newer vehicles you still kind of feel like you sit on top, but if you ever get in an S13 after driving a new car, you feel like you are sitting on top of an S13 and not necessarily in it. That comes from that distance being different versus newer and older vehicles. So with that distance being different, that's kind of why we had to cut and make so many modifications to get this dash to fit in the first place, and why it's going to be such a hassle to fit the AC and heater box into this. Alright, so I got the doors taken off and the seats out, and then I went ahead and took out that vent in the middle. There's also the G factory dash bar back in there, and I made some measurements in there, and there's actually quite a bit of room in here. I figured that the firewall on the G would have more space, but the S13 seems to have more space. The only issue is that the cowl where the wiper arms and everything sit inside of, that area is a little bit tight, so I might have to modify that on either the box or on the cowl. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of all of the dash out, get everything kind of torn down, get all the wires free, make sure everything looks nice still. There's a little bit of flexing on the driver's side, so I'm going to try to see if I can take care of the flexing there, and then yeah, we will go from there. Alright, the dash is out, the dash bar is out, and I've got the box sitting in there. It is a little bit tall there in the center, but if you look back there, the defrost is in about the right spot. So I want to say that the back there is pretty much close to where it's got to be, that point. But you can see it's tall right here, and let's see, my bracket for the bar coming down to the middle is right there, and there is this relief right here, which I'm pretty sure that that's where that's got to go. So it's got to go back about that far, and if I try my best to hold that distance, that's about the distance from the heater core tube to the firewall. So like I said, that part right there is actually pretty darn close. So if I was to look at this as a whole, this whole thing just needs to kind of rotate down in there, which means that I have a height issue on the bottom of the box there. I will look at the box. I know that I believe it's the AC is right there, so I don't know how much more I can get out of the box there, so I might have to actually look into lowering the tunnel in that section. There is quite a bit of room, even though that there is a CD009 transmission in this car. It actually kind of sits fairly low because of the nature of the rest of the build. So I'm going to look at seeing if there's room to lower the tunnel. It would make it harder for an engine swap later, or possibly working on it, so I've got to take into account that as well. But I think that pretty much does it for this video. There's going to be a lot of work on this. You can see there's wires scattered all around, so there's going to be a lot of trying to fit everything in the correct spot, and also making sure that where I put things to fit in here are also going to work, because this technically is also a harness tuck essentially, because on the G's there's a lot of wires that actually sit up in that corner. There is a bunch of stuff that actually sits way up in that corner that kind of gets in the way of stuff. So there is a lot of stuff in the engine bay, so a lot of stuff had to come back into here. There is a plate right here, and there's a lot of electrical that's sitting under that plate that's protected from the passenger compartment. So there's a lot of stuff getting packed right into this place. More so than what was in a factory G, and there's less space than there was in a G. So it's going to be a fun, difficult challenge, but it's still definitely doable. This is fitting way better than I thought it would. There's actually going to be a lot less modifying. There's still going to be modifying, but there's a lot less than I thought there was going to be. So this is actually pretty exciting. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this. See if you guys are just as excited as I am, or if this is absurd and ridiculous, but you know, that's kind of what I do. So we will see you guys this Sunday.